Welcome to SUNY New Paltz CAD Resources. This channel will hopefully help you learn the Rhino 3D software and complete the weekly homework assignments for CAD 1. Let's get started. I thought it would be helpful this week to go over the Ortho modeling aid a little bit more, just because it's really useful for a lot of different commands. Basically what it does is it allows you to snap your angles to a preset ortho angle. You can see here sometimes you draw a line and it looks like it's exactly the right angle, but if you haven't snapped it to anything, chances are it is actually not the right angle. So ortho is great because when you're drawing an angle, you just press down shift and that snaps it to your ortho angle. And you can set the ortho angle by right clicking on ortho and at the bottom there and setting the angle. And if you set it to 15, you can snap to all the really useful angles in the unit circle. So in Rhino, obviously you're selecting objects a lot, but there's different ways to select objects. So for instance, if you wanted to select multiple objects, if you just hold down shift, you can click and it will add the items to your selection. On the other hand, if you want to remove items from your selection, you can just press Control and that will deselect. You can also select by clicking and dragging with the left mouse button. And for some reason, Rhino, really, you're supposed to always do this from the right hand side. If you do it from the left, it just doesn't really work, but if you do it from the right hand side, it works. I don't know why. Rhino is a little weird like that. So the next thing I want to do is go over some exercises from the last homework that the online class had to do. Even if you're in the other section of CAD 1, I think these are just good exercises to look at. Some of them were a little tricky, so yeah, I think it's just good to review. So let's go over how to make this shape. First, I'm going to do a line, and I'm going to align all these circles to the bottom, making sure to use my O snaps. After that, you use the copy command to duplicate them in place. And then finally, you're going to use the mirror command, and you want to make sure you're using your center snap to set the first point, and then you're either using your ortho or you're using a quad snap to make sure that line is really at the 180. And then you use curve boolean to select the shapes you want to keep, and you press enter, and that's how you do that one. So for this one, first you want to copy that arc over to the other side of the square, and you want to make sure that you're using your end snaps there so that it ends up in the right place. Next, we're going to copy those arcs again, and in the copy command you can move them up from that bottom point to the top there. And what this allows you to do is you can use the rotate command, setting your center of rotation at that top point, and you can rotate 90 degrees and get them exactly where they need to be. So next we want to trim away these pieces that we don't need. You just select everything and use the trim command. And then finally we can do the array with 2 in the X and 2 in the Y spacing. And you drag from your end point there to the end point on the other side. Alright, so this one was tricky. I wanted to go over it just so everyone can see how to do it. The first thing you want to do is make your spiral. So you go to the spiral command and you hit flat spiral, and you want to set the center of your spiral at the center of the square. So you make sure the snap goes off. You want to start your spiral at the midpoint and then go back to the center of the square. And then we need to copy the spiral, and then we want to rotate one of the spirals. We start it at that mid snap and then rotate it to the other mid snap. You want to make sure your center of rotation is set at the center of the spiral. Then now You go to trim. You can trim away those other pieces. Select all of it. And to set your mirror axis, you want to start on that endpoint. And then you can use Ortho by holding Shift to just snap it into place. And that's how you mirror the spiral.